Hello and welcome. My name is Bailey Pinkerton, and today I will be conducting a toolbox safety talk on power industrial trucks, commonly referred to as forklifts or lift trucks. Speaking of forklifts, the four most common incidents occurring with forklifts are driving off of loading docks and being caught between an unsecured trailer, falling while elevated on pallets or tines, and I think probably the most number one is going to be struck by forklifts. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we can prevent some of those incidents today. Starting off, you must be 18 or older to operate a forklift. It's federal law. Getting into the different classes or types of forklifts, there are 7 classes. Your first 3 classes are all electric forklifts. Class 1 and Class 2 are both electric motor riding. Class 1 is your standard size. Class 2 is going to be your narrow aisle. You'll find those typically in retail stores. Class 3 electric is actually going to be a hand truck. So usually you're either standing or walking along behind it or next to it and operating it that way. Class 4 and Class 5 are your internal combustion engine forklifts. Class 4 has your solid cushion tires, whereas Class 5 has your pneumatic tires. Class 6 is your industrial trucks. Those are usually larger. You see those a lot when it comes to like loading cargo ships. Class 7 is going to be your rough terrain forklifts. Your rough terrain forklifts are typically found on construction sites, and you'll see those lifting like trusses or entire pallets of lumber. Let's talk about the center of gravity on a forklift. So the center of gravity, or the middle, is in the middle when it's unloaded. When the forklift is loaded, however, that center of gravity actually moves further back in between the rear wheelbase, and it'll sit. And the reason it does that is to kind of distribute the weight a little bit more evenly. Getting more into pre-inspection of your forklift prior to operating, you're going to want to look for several things. Number one, you want to check your fluid levels, whether you're operating a electric motor or a combustible engine. You need to check your fluid levels, whether that be water, oil, hydraulic fluid. You need to check all of your fluid levels. The next thing you're going to want to look for is any cracks, leaks, tears, or any visual defects that you can see. You're going to want to look for your tire condition, your pressure, make sure there's no cracks or chunks missing out of your tires. You're going to want to look for your safety decals and your nameplates. Your nameplates are important because it'll tell you 3 very important things. Number one, it'll tell you the weight of the forklift. It'll tell you the type of the forklift that you are about to operate. And the third thing is it'll tell you your load capacity. Your load capacity is very, very important. On load capacity, if you were to use an attachment, it is very important to remember that whatever the weight of the attachment is that you're using, that will reduce your load capacity. So let's say that your load capacity is 5,000 pounds and you have a attachment that weighs 500 pounds. That means your load capacity is now only 4,500 pounds. All right. Getting back to your pre-inspection, pre-operational inspection, you want to ensure that there is a safety manual or an operator's manual and that it is there and that it's legible. You also want to make sure that all of your safety devices are working properly, i.e. your seatbelt. I know it's annoying to have to hook your seatbelt every single time you get on and off the forklift, but yes, you have to do it because it could save your life. All right. Now, when it comes to electric forklifts, if you're messing with the battery in any way, you need to make sure that you're wearing your proper PPE. Batteries can 100% mess you up, as well as propane. When it comes to propane tanks, you need to make sure that there's no dents, leaks, or cracks in the tanks themselves, and that the tanks are secured properly. You don't want to come around a corner and lose your propane tank and have an explosion. All right, moving on to an operational inspection. Now, while you're operating the forklift, you want to make sure that your gas and your brakes are working properly. You want to make sure that your tilt controls are working properly, up and down, or I'm sorry, forward and back, and your hoisting and your lowering, so up and down. Also very important is your horn, your lights, and your backup alarm. Those three things specifically are important because they alert people around you of the direction you're going and where you're coming from. If at any point in time you find any discrepancies whatsoever, it's very, very important that you remove that forklift for maintenance. You're going to save yourself and potentially others around you by doing that. While you're operating the forklift, if you are operating on an incline, always, always, always make sure that your load is facing up. Never go down the incline with your load going down. The reason for that is because you can tilt and tip over. You also don't want to turn on an incline. Again, the center of gravity is a lot different and you could tilt and tip over. Now, speaking of if you should tip over, there's a few things that you can do. Number one is to stay calm. So just relax, stay on the forklift, don't jump off. You're going to want to hold on to the steering wheel nice and tight. You're going to brace your feet, lean away from the impact, and lean forward. If while you are driving, you cannot see where you're going, there's two things you can do. The first one is utilize a spotter, which is somebody walking ahead of you to inform people that you're coming with a forklift. The second way, the most common way, is probably just utilizing your horn. All right, so just a couple of reminders and then it'll be all done. So, number one, very most important, always, 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 always wear your seatbelt. Number two, never exceed your load capacity. That load capacity is there for a reason. Number three, make sure you have enough clearance whenever you are raising and loading your material. Number four, watch for pedestrians and observe the speed limit. It's not there for a suggestion. And keep your distance from platforms and ramp edges. Again, you don't want to tip over. That's it. Thank you. Hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you next time.